So this is the classification of Malaysian soil and these other fundamentals. Now, if you look at these 6 points, it looks quite similar to the classification for biological organism. And in fact, it's quite similar. Not exactly the same, but quite similar. In fact, the only difference that you can see right here is it begins with on top, the order, then suborder, rate group, subgroup, soil family, and finally soil series. Now, occasionally, when you look at some research paper, especially the Malaysian ones, they will mostly going to refer to soil series, the last one. Why didn't they use soil order? The reason is because soil order is very generalized. It's like a main group of a very generalized quality of soil, and then you just group it. So not much of information you can get from that. It's very general, but very distinctive. How many soil order? There are 12. And therefore, for any newcomers to soil science, usually these are the 12 names that you need to know. Not only you need to know, you also need to know their characteristic. Because that is the simplest things that you can manage. 12 names, come on. Of course, you can memorize that. We haven't go to soil series, and if you talk about soil series, they're up to hundreds. So of course, I will not force you to memorize 100 names, but 12, for sure you can do it. And another tips for you, 12 names, memorize and get to know the quality, yeah? So I'll skip this one. Very similar to the organism classification that you must have learned in biology, and I believe that you don't enjoy it probably. But this one, I try to keep it as simple as you possibly can handle. So like I told you just now, the order. Get to know the soil order. The most general grouping. Sure you can do it. Yeah? And then after that, suborder. What the suborder defines? Just now, you probably have noticed that some of the things that they define is the moisture. How much of water is probably contained in that group of soil inside the soil order, right? Yeah, they will define some, either they have a lot of water, a little, or sometimes they even talk about the temperature. Well, obviously in Malaysia is tropical country, so the temperature we're talking about here is usually very high. Malaysia don't have 4 seasons, so usually we don't talk about temperature that much. It's the moisture that we probably going to define in suborder. But occasionally, some of the suborder might going to talk about other things like the chemical or textural feature. Now, this is more apparent when we're talking about the organic soil. So they must be they're probably going to define other things apart from moisture and temperature, but majority is talking about moisture and temperature. Next, moving on, smaller one is grade group. Now, this group will be differentiated by the horizon. Now, this one, I'm not so sure what exactly that they are talking about. It talks a wide range of things. After this, there are examples, so maybe you can go into it. And then moving on to the smaller one, subgroup. Now, this subgroup, um, they may be talking about typical, integrate, or the other one. Now, typic or integrate, this one, typic, is related to the organic content or organic soil. And again, not much of information that I have at the moment until we go into the examples later. So we're going to go to that. And then finally, the last two, 5 and 6. Now, 5 and 6 is usually used the most in all literature in Malaysia, in Malaysian literature for soil science. Sometimes they refer to soil family and also some soil series, because these are the ones that usually you have a longer name, longer classification, that you have all four sections that you have. You can see the suborder already. You can see the order, grade group and subgroup, all in the soil series. Now, sometimes you will not going to see the full name. It's just like what you see just now, Kuantan, just now, right? The first slide, Kuantan series. What does that mean? If you want to know the full soil classification, is actually much longer than that. So from there, you can see the information, because in the full name, you're going to see again the terms that you see just now, right? The terms that you see just now, the diagnostic, they will appear in the full soil classification, the name. Yeah. So I think I will go to the examples lah, yeah. Before we move on, just to show you how many orders, suborders, and grade group with regards to Malaysian soil. So earlier I told you 12 then. Why I say 12 is because in the world there are 12, but in Malaysia there's only 11. And the reason is because Malaysia do not have winter. So number 12 is regarded to a soil that is frozen. Now, Malaysia is not up to that part. Now, I know there's one part in Malaysia that is probably below 0 degrees Celsius, and that is on top of Mount Kinabalu. The entire Malaysia, apart from that, the entire Malaysia will have higher temperature than that, not up to the freezing point. So order number 12, the frozen soil, is not counted lah. So what are the names of soil order that you need to memorize? 11 only. So 11 only lah, yeah. Suborder 28, grade group 87, and then the numbers keeps on adding up. Subgroup 279, soil family 325, and soil series so far 527. Yeah, you cannot memorize 500 names, and I know, I understand, because I also don't memorize these 500 names. So relax lah. If you want to memorize, only these 11, yeah. So once again, what differentiate them? Soil forming process and also their characteristic, the diagnostic of horizon and properties lah. So the general characteristic of soil. And these are the names. Okay, you might be confused. You might be confused. For example, are you going to see this or this? Okay, now, frankly speaking, like this slide, this lecture slide, has been borrowed from UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. And what UKM champions? National identity. And therefore, Bahasa Melayu is their first agenda lah. And because of that, every single English name, if they can, they are going to derive a Malay name. Therefore, Organa is the Malay name for this soil order. Histosol. Histosol is internationally well known. If you ask somebody not from Malaysia, what is Organa? They won't know what you're talking about. Now, this word, unbolded ones, is the soil order in Bahasa Melayu. So you might ask me, are we following Bahasa Melayu or Bahasa Inggeris? I think you should know the answer already, kan? Yes, you should memorize the bolded name. The others, nah, no need lah. No need. Because why? In your exam, in your test, and in your quiz, we will only use English, and you also answer in English. Therefore, just look at the bolded names only, yeah? Okay. So the first one, histosol. How many soil series? 31. Histosol, usually we're talking about peat soil. And you can see it, peat soil, box soil, that has more than 20% of organic matter. How do you know this? You can only know this after you completed the loss on ignition test. You burn it, then you see that. Does it decrease by 20%? If it does, if it's more than that, yeah, this is histosol. Quite easy to do. Yeah. What about the next one? Lithosol. Now, lithosol is related to shallow soil with a soil depth of less than 50 centimeters. Lithic, paralithic, petropheric, or sea horizon. Okay, carry on. Spodosol. 22 soil series, acidic soil, and it is enriched. It is accumulated with iron and aluminium. So you can guess lah, what color is this one? It's not red because what? It have aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide is white. White plus red is orange. And yes, what you can see normally in Malaysian soil, lereng bukit, when you tara, when you take open the soil cover and you can see red soil, yeah, this is a soil. It is called spodosol here, but sometimes you may notice that It also called podzol. 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 It has an origin from Russia. So this name comes from a Russian scientist or whatever. Somebody called it a podzol, and it has a Russian origin. Okay, next one, andesol. Andy equals to Andes. Andes hill. So when they talk about hill, they talk about volcanic salt. How many salt series? Just one. And I believe this one is in Sarawak. Only one in Malaysia. Oxysol, quite common because why? Oxy means oxidized, highly weathered. Why not? Because Malaysia have high rainfall, and a lot of Malaysian soil actually are weathered in high extent, especially in high rainfall area. They are mostly this kind of one, oxysol. Vertisol, what does that mean? It's a dark clay soil with cracking and have high swelling place. Not many of the soil will have this one, only 6. Okay. And then the major one, altisol, soil with candic argillic horizon and low base saturation. So this one are usually the not so good soil, I would say. Low base saturation means they cannot keep too much of nutrient. Unfortunately, we have lot 168. So these are called low fertility. Of course, low base saturation usually leads to low fertility, but this one sometimes, and most of the times, I would say, leads to forest soil. Now, forest soil is not considered as bad soil. It's just not good for agriculture. Not good enough, I would say. For forest, okay, no problem, because forest, they already established. And then the others, mollisol. Mollisol also is associated with high organic matter. It has fertile grassland soils. I would say Malaysia also have one of these. Also due to the high organic matter, peat soil probably is associated with that one. Now this one is a bit different. It has high base saturation. So these are the good ones for agriculture actually. Maybe the structure not as good, but they have high nutrient content. Okay, next one, alphisol. Now this one is associated with argillic and candic horizon. If you still remember what is argillic, I think I haven't explained to you what is argillic means. Argillic is the T. Remember just now I told you that small t. Small t means they have clay accumulation. So usually these are weathered as well. Alphy soil, they have argillic and candic horizon, but contrary to all those weathered soil and highly weathered soil, this one have high base saturation. For some reason, maybe due to its nature or its formation. So this one is good for agriculture and is fertile hardwood forest. So not all forests are having low base saturation. Some of them they may be high, some of them may be low. So depends on this nature of the soil. Okay, second last, inceptisol. Inceptisol, if you look at the first part, incept means it's just started. What is just started? The soil formation process. So you can say this is a new soil. And it is immature, not too weathered, I would say, because it is immature. Usually mature soil are those that has been extensively weathered. So these are the new ones. And usually this one sits in a forest that has very low erosion or weathering process. So Malaysia also has plenty of this one. And then finally, antisol. Antisol 93, quite a lot. These are also primitive, just like insectisol, but maybe slightly more developed. It has a little bit of development. Ocric epipedon is common. So just now, ocric means you still remember? Okay, if you don't remember, let's go back. What is ocric? I think I remember just now I seen ocric. Yeah, right here. Too light colored, too little organic matter, or too thin to be molic. So they are developed slightly, but not much of organic matter, and therefore not good. Like it's not good for agriculture. So these are the 11 names, 11 bolded names. Don't look at the others, look at the bolded ones. Remember this one, and also its major characteristic. If in any case, if you have been looking at the question, past year final exam question, you notice that these will be the question. Either I give you the name of order and I ask you what is a major characteristic, or the other way around. I give you the major characteristic, I ask you, what is the order? Either way, it's worth between 1 to 2 marks. I cannot avoid this question because this will be part of the intended learning. So you have to know 11, correction, 11 soil orders. Make sure you know their names as well as their major characteristics. And these are the same information as well. It's just these were like grouped together according to the extent of weathering. So for soils that is little weathered, they are such and such. I don't want to continue again because I have already explained to you what are those soil orders. So these are considered little weathering. Moderately weathered, they are molly soil, alphy soil, ultisoil, and spotosoil. The highly weathered ones, again, oxysoils and histosoil. So you can see every class, okay, every soil order, they are different in terms of their characteristic, whether it's organic matter, base saturation, and also their extent in weathering. The easiest one that you can think of is the highly weathered ones, because as I told you earlier in the introduction, usually classification, we split into two soil mineralogy. Either it's mineral soil or it's organic soil. So if it's mineral, if it's a mineral soil and it's highly weathered, it is oxysoil. If it's organic but highly weathered, it's histosoil. So coming back to the moderately weathered ones, if it's organic soil, it's molly soil, and then the rest. So these are the things that sometimes it may crisscross, between these two nature of the soil, whether it's organic or mineral soil, and there are extensive weathering. So once again, weathering is not really the best information, not really the best information that a farmer needs. Because usually the main purpose of us doing this soil classification is to know whether the soil is suitable for agriculture. And here you can see the one in blue is the best. So histosoil, if you still remember, this one is organic, but have high base saturation. Why they say maybe? Because for your information, histosoil do not have a good structure. What good structure means? They are prone to sinking actually. And if you still remember, usually agriculture uses a lot of water, groundwater. When you plant something, the plant will absorb this moisture. So when this moisture is absorbed away, they will sink. Is it a good thing? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends. It depends on how much water is being absorbed away, yeah. Because after all, they have a lot of nutrient. And then the other one, molly soil. Now, molly soil also is also organic soil. Alphy soil is the only mineral soil that are good for agriculture. The rest of it, what do you think? Not good. Good. And if you look at the number, okay, the number of soil series that Malaysia have, there aren't many soils that are good for agriculture. So what happens if you have vertisoil, oxysoil, and the rest in black font? Certainly you need to do something. And by saying do something is you need to put extra material. And this material could be organic material or even fertilizer. Because what? You want agriculture, fertilizer is the only one that can keeps it going. So, okay, these are the soil orders that are considered unusual, but is considered quite good for agriculture. Wait, let's see, vertisoil. Well, no, vertisoil is not considered as good. So they are comparing vertisoil and also histosoil. The histosoil just now we saw just now is good for agriculture. Why they are good? Because they have high organic matter, and most importantly, they are very fertile. They have high base saturation. Vertisoil, not so good because they have high clay content. Why clay is bad? Now, it depends. Because if you're talking about farming paddies, rice, it could be okay because paddy grows well uh, in clay. In clay with a lot of water on top of it, it can be done. But if you want to plant other things that is subjected to drying, now this is a problem because clay once it's dry, it becomes brick hard. It's quite hard, And what happened is it will going to damage the roots, and therefore it's not so good. So usually, what do you need to do for vertisoil? You have too much clay. How do you encourage some aeration and less clay so that they don't crack? It can be as easy as adding more organic matter. Okay, histosol don't need to do anything because it's already good. Well, maybe unless you don't take too much of water from histosol, then it should be fine. Vertisol, you need a bit more organic matter. Antisol is new soil, so it doesn't have too much of nutrient, I would say. Usually new soils don't have too much of nutrients, so you add more fertilizers. If not for fertilizers, maybe organic matter also can be useful. Insectisol also. So these are the young soils. Usually young soils are due to two things. Number one, it's either not developed or maybe it's already been is subjected to human intervention. Now, I'm not sure which one is either antisol or insectisol. These two are also quite common in Malaysia due to one thing. Now, sometimes when a soil has been extensively altered, it essentially restart the entire soil forming process once again. Doesn't mean that it restarts from the very beginning, but it restarts from something that is extensively changed the entire original soil profile. I'm talking about mining. Now, if you still remember Malaysia 30 or 40 years ago, there is extensively tin mining activities happening in Malaysia. And because of that activity, a lot of Malaysian soil actually has been dug up, washed all over again. So if you still remember, original soils usually they have horizons, isn't it? They have 5 horizons. But after that tin mining, there are no more of this horizon. Everything has been dug up, washed with a lot of water, and then they resettle. So the act of mining essentially destroy the entire soil formation that happened naturally earlier and restart the entire soil formation again. And because of that, they also are called insectisol because of that. And again, once you have all this soil washing happen, all these nutrients are gone. And most of the soil, unfortunately, they're located in Perak because what? Perak, number one producer in tin, followed by Selangor. Selangor also very high production in tin. Other states, especially in the east coast, like Kelantan, like Terengganu and Pahang, not much of tin mining activities back then. Most of the tin mining activities happen in Perak, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, some in Johor. So most of the soil are the urbanized one. After tin mining, they are of this one. Andy soil, I think I've explained to you. I think I will need to stop right now because what? Originally, I told you that it is the 11 soil order that you need to memorize as well as the characteristic. And I believe all these things I have already mentioned to you is just take your time, go through all these things, what are they different, and what are the intervention that you need to do. So if you look back at those characteristics, some of them may have high base saturation. So for those who have high base saturation, that means they have a lot of exchangeable cations like calcium, magnesium, potassium. These are the nutrients that makes a soil fertile. Very early on, you saw histosol, organic soil, but have high base saturation. Do we need more fertilizer? No. Now, fertilizer is only administered, is only put into the soil with very low base saturation or low minerals, such as this one, the oxysols. Oxysols, they are majority consist in Johor, I would say. Most of the soil here in Johor, they have high iron and aluminium, poor for agriculture because they don't have nutrient. They are leached away. Not to say that they don't have the nutrient, but most of them, they are leached away. They are somewhere else. So what to do? Add more nutrient. And most of the nanas, the pineapples that you're eating right now, that are planted in Johor, they're mostly planted on this kind of soil. Because why? Because pineapple, they are very durable. they can withstand high acidity. And for your information, oxysol also, most of the time, they're acidic. And fortunately, like pineapple, they can withstand high acidity and with all these things, so they can survive without having to alter too much. Of course, like pineapple farmers, they will put fertilizers, but not that much. So that's why Johor, Pengelua, the Nas, because they have oxysol and pineapple can be planted.